Everybody in this room takes notes. Well, most everybody anyway. But when we do take notes, most of us will most likely grab a pen. Why do we grab a pen? Well, pens are permanent because you can't erase ink. Pens are also better than pencils in not smearing. Pens also write smooth, and they don't need sharpened. There are also a variety of choices of pens. You have ballpoint pens, fountain pens, glitter pens, you even have diamond-studded pens. And but we don't realize when we go to grab a pen from our backpack or our bag how important they are. We don't realize the effort that is put into some pens or think about the symbolism a pen can have. There are a lot more to pens than is generally known. And today I'd like to give you a brief history of the pen, give a short overview of how some of the finer pens are made, and finally give some examples of how pens are appreciated. In ancient Greek and Roman times, people didn't use ink pens, they used a stylus, and they wrote on wax. Now, the stylus is a stick with a point, and that was a style that was used until around the Middle Ages, when quills became the pen of choice. And quills were feathers that were usually plucked from a live bird, usually a geese, then heated and shaped with a penknife, and then dipped in ink. And quills were used throughout till the mid-19th century, when fountain pens were invented, which are pens that have a reservoir of ink that are fed through a tip or a nib. And but those leaked a lot, so those didn't last for very long. And they did last until the 1940s, when the ballpoint pen came out. And these had far more benefits than the fountain pen. They had instant drying ink. They had a longer lasting supply of ink, smoother writing because of the ball, and they're a lot less likely to leak. Now, there is a company called Waterman that makes a varying degree of pens. They make the pens that we use every day, and they make higher quality, finer pens. And one of the ways that they make them is they take large bands of brass and they stamp into smaller circles. These circles are then shaped into the parts of the pen. Then after the shaping, they're all cleaned to get off any of the residue, and then all the metal parts are cut into the different parts according to what kind of pen it's going to be, because there's different types and different styles. And then these metal pieces are polished and cleaned again to get off any more residue. Then after this, the journey of the pen splits, and the top line pens, the higher quality pens, go to a part of the factory that uses more handmade qualities, and while the bottom line pens go into a more automated part of the factory. Some of the pens of the top line are then gold plated, while pens with a lacquered finish go into a specially pressurized room with workers who wear full body suits to eliminate dust and to ensure a smooth finish. Then these pens are then also baked at around 2,900 degrees. Then each nib is handmade, and the workers use machines to compress the metal in order to make it stronger. And then they're each calibrated for a certain tension. And then after that, then each nib, each tip, is individually tested for smoothness on a piece of paper. Now that I've kind of sort of explained what kind of work goes into the pens, I'd like to look at how they're appreciated. First of all, the permanence of a pen is very important. Information needs to be written down to make it permanent, while the permanence of information is a requirement for making it communicable, which means pretty much that if we want to pass along our ideas and thoughts, we got to write it down, and it's got to stay there. And that's where the pen helps. Shakespeare, in his play A Midsummer's Night Dream, wrote of the pen in a metaphorical way. He said, the poet's eye, in a fine frenzy rolling, doth glance from heaven to earth, from earth to heaven, and as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. And for the fan of the pen, you can go to www.pencollectors.com, and for your $30 a year, you can have access to people who like to discuss the history, manufacturing, and uses of writing instruments. The pen also gives way to people who have an artistic side to them and have special designs. The diamond-studded pen I spoke of earlier, can go for $125,000. Or you can plop down $1,650, that is, for a sterling silver pen that contains a bit of Lincoln's DNA, Abraham Lincoln's DNA obtained from strands of his hair. Now, pens have come a long way since the plucking of feathers from live birds was common. Pens people use every day are made by machines and are fairly cheap, while some that are considered to be of exquisite quality are handmade and can range in the thousands of dollars. But the symbolism of the actual pen is important. I mean, you wouldn't see the president signing a bill into law with a Bic. Thank you.